Hello, BookTube. I'm back with another installment for Howl for the Holidays. Howl for the Holidays is a 3 month long reading project that was created by Brandy at the Book Eclectic. It is to celebrate the hard science fiction writer Hal Clement, and it runs from November, December, and January, 3 months. The idea is to read two books every month of his writing, and just it's Brandy's favorite science fiction writer, and she has noticed, and rightly so, that he is woefully neglected, especially on BookTube, YouTube, and by the greater public of science fiction writers as well. Many find him intimidating to read because of the hard science that's in it. But if one perseveres, I believe that they will find enjoyment in his books. I've already talked about two of his books called Needle and Through the Eye of a Needle in a previous video. And today I'm going to talk about Ocean on Top. It was originally published in Worlds of If, a sister magazine to Galaxy Science Fiction in 1967, and in book form in 1976. It's a very short work. It's just not even 100, not even 200 pages. Not even in this Sphere edition. It's 160 pages, and it's a bit of an odd book. It's set in a future, sort of undetermined future, where there's a severe energy crisis, and we find out through the course of the book that the backdrop to all this is that there were wars all over the world for energy, and then finally the dust settled from all this, and there was a world board, an energy board in a sense, that regulates and it rations energy in a world. And unknown, well, we don't know why, but it starts out with our narrator. It's a first person narrative who is going down um, approximately a mile down deep, like in the ocean, to investigate something. But he finds a installation there that is lit up, and to him, like wasteful energy. And there's people living there, and he finds out it's a what they call themselves a nation of 15,000 individuals, but they live in it's a they live in a liquid, a liquid that allows them to breathe, but it also um, gives it allows them to live with the pressure that is a mile down. They cannot talk. They have a very sophisticated communication system of gestures and everything like that, and they harness um, the volcanic sort of activity, the lava, the heat, to make their energy. And he's captured by them, and because he's also looking for his friends. There's friends that have disappeared in the same area, and one of his friends shows up down there. He's sort of has gone native, I guess you would say, and has been altered so he can live in that environment. And he gives, sort of says, well, you have a choice. You can, leave or become one of us. And so he decides to become one of them. There's other sort of bit of plot lines of a woman that went down searching for a man that she was in love with, and she doesn't want to get altered to stay there, but she's not leaving yet, and it's a bit convoluted and a bit sort of unsure. There's not much in the way of plot. It's very, very slow. It's the main character sort of discovering of what this place is and why it's there. And it's as I say, it's written in the first person, and it's an interesting sort of chatty conversational dialogue where the narrator will say something. He goes, "Oh well, just disregard that. I don't really know what I'm talking about here," or something like that. And that's kind of interesting to see, and that was fun. And his sort of explanations, it's sort of I'm not sure if I fully believe, or it's believable that these people are living in this thick liquid that is protecting them, like it's a barrier at the bottom of the ocean that's somehow contained in this area, and it's a heavier liquid than water, so it sinks to the bottom, so the water is on top, so hence ocean on top. uh but it's yeah, I just not sure if it holds together really. It's like, how did these people get there? Like they do eventually. He finds a history in their library and reads of how they get there, but it still doesn't sort of make sense. And it's like, well, why was he there? Like, I guess he was sent there by the board, but why? And apparently they know about that. It's like there's a lot of all these little questions that Hal Clement does not deal with. But it's almost as if the very, very last chapter, he talks about sort of the philosophy, if you want to call it that, um, of sort of the idea of energy and using it and keeping it from others, and just the moral aspects of the use of energy. And it's almost as if everything was sort of leading up to this. There's no sort of big denouement at the end, no big thing that happens. It just sort of it's a plods along, kind of almost boringly in some ways, but it's the way he writes it with the little bits of explanation of how things are happening or finding out about the past that keep you reading for this. So it does keep you reading, and it makes it interesting that way, but there's nothing really that happens a whole lot. Like it's like it's not working towards an end in a sense, because but as I say, the last chapter talks about this idea of things, and everything up to that he was showing you what then he says in the last chapter. And I don't know if he meant this as a metaphor for what's going to happen, or potentially, we're going to get, energy crisis and there won't be any energy on the earth. So anyway, it was an interesting read, and thankfully it was very slim. Um, but it's well written in many ways, for that fact of that it keeps you going, because he's put these little things in at various places, that because you're thrown in deep water literally at the beginning, and you don't know what's going on, so you piece together what the story is and what's happening currently in the story, but also you then piece together the background, the context of everything for the most part, but there's a lot that's left out. And it sort of makes sense that it's left out, because you don't really know everything about this installation, like where these people live, because the documents that the narrator is reading is incomplete and only written by people that have been sort of taken there because they need specialists to continue this, because there and there's a very interesting talk about how you can that you can get rid of verbal language and have this very complex system of gestures, like almost sign language, to understand each other, but you can't pass on he's saying the technical knowledge and teach this kind of thing. So they need new blood constantly for people to do this, because to keep maintenance of everything. So that was kind of interesting. That was, and again, I'm not too so sure. I, I, I think I followed it as much as he was saying. I'm not sure if I buy it, but it was an interesting thought process, and that's the thing with Hal Clement. He will either create these fantastical world building and intricately tell you how this works and how it affects people, or it's a thought idea, a thought experiment. And this is one of his that is, I believe, a thought experiment more than the science, even though the science is in there. The thought experiment is in here regarding energy and morals and the philosophy behind it. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's Ocean on Top, originally 1967, and yeah, it was an enjoyable read for me. Take care, BookTube.